Is there any startup in the place? No startups? Is Unilever in the place? Or is everybody sleeping? Okay, great. So I'm going to talk to you about corporate innovation, technology, and the transformation agenda. So technology is here and it's moving fast. Okay, is this working? Yes. Cool. And it only took us 20 years to actually move an entire store of microelectronics in the back of your pocket. And today we don't need to prove the Moore's law anymore. We know that technology is moving fast and fast and fast again. Yesterday we've launched SpaceX that arrived in the space and for the first time in a commercial value. And if you only have 56 million, you will be able also to go to the International Space Station. So this is just to say that technology will never block you to do anything. Today it's 50 million, tomorrow it's going to be 5 million, and in 20 years it's going to cost you only 5,000. So how can we embrace technology? And how large organizations can work with startups? Some large organizations acquire or invest startups to leverage their technology. But you are going to see, and we already see it, a growing trend of corporates partnering with startups.
Hello.
So how can we reach a working environment that will actually benefit both the corporates and the startups? Doesn't work?
At the back, yeah.
And now it's better?
Just speak louder.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Shall I remove this one?
They're going to turn it off, so yeah.
Okay, cool. Is it better now? Okay, sorry about that. So I was just saying that you do see trends of startups and corporates partnering together, and you have different models to do that. What I would like to show you or talk to you about it today is how working with startups, it's part of the global transformation agenda of an organization. So Unilever Foundry has been around now for 5 years, and we are the two-way bridge for startups to connect with Unilever and for Unilever to connect with startups. We are what we call a framework for experimentation. We're not here to replace procurement. We are not here to, try things that are not going to scale. The objective is to test, pilot, learn, and scale. Of course, out there you have different models. You have what we call the cohort model, and you have the funnel model. The cohort model is a model that will look like an incubator or an accelerator. The funnel model, it's the model that we're following now. It's when you start from the business brief. We engage with the business owners of Unilever within the organization here in Southeast Asia, and we try to identify a need. And when we identify a need, we then look at how technology can fill the gap and support. And then we have access, and we are looking at startups from a very broad perspective. So we are working with scouting agencies, we are engaging with VCs, with investors, and with communities. And I'll talk later about communities. And starting from this large landscape of companies, we then start to curate and identify which of those technology will actually solve the problem that we have. Always having in mind that yes, we pilot, but we need to scale. Then we start to shortlist, and we give access to 3 to 5 startups to talk to our brief owner, whether it's a brand or a function, and to get to work together. So after 5 years, globally, we have had about 150 pilots ongoing, out of which 40 of them have been scaling with the organization. Scaling means a startup is working with more than 10 brands and 10 markets. And this is where we start to talk about scale. And Unilever Foundry is a platform to discover technology, understand the trends and where technology is going. It's a platform that has developed a piloting, test and learn model. And we have also, now we are also looking at new business model and creating new ideas around those startups that are bringing us new opportunities. I would say this is 5 years down the journey. It has been an interesting journey. Every corporation needs to find their own way to engage with startups. There is no right or wrong way of doing it, but we are seeing an evolution. We are seeing an evolution because I think now more and more we start to talk about innovation not in a bilateral way between a startup and a corporate, but more and more we start to talk about ecosystem. We at Foundry are starting to look at how we can innovate not only with the startup but with our partners and with external partners. 2 years ago, we have created a co-working space. And we started as a co-working space. But very quickly we realized that actually what we were currently building was more than a co-working space. It was a community of entrepreneurs, single contributor. It was a community of Unilever employees. It was also Unilever partners. We had Cargill, we have Syngenta, Microsoft. Recently, we have companies like SGS who join us that are actually willing to work with startups. They have their own innovation model. They engage directly with their own startups. But very funnily, we are also working on similar projects. And the best way to resolve difficult problems like traceability in the supply chain, like plastic, it's actually to work together to those problems. So we have created Level 3. I haven't really talked about it publicly yet. I very often talked about Foundry, but now 2 years down the journey, we have 72 startups within our regional headquarters. We have 8 partners, and we have a massive community of 250 people who are there, not every day, but who are there in and out, participating to events and actively participating to the community. And I think that this is a new model which is arising from the corporate startup relationship. Together with that community, we are looking at 5 big pillars, which we think is the pillars where we can have an impact with Unilever, working with startups, but also our other partners: marketing and ad tech, data and AI, which is a lot of things, but basically it's anything around the enterprise technology, logistic, e-commerce, food and agri-tech, and sustainable growth technology. The objective is to have those pillars for anyone from the startup environment or the corporate environment being able to speak out, give ideas, and talk to each other. I start to see that we talk a lot about digitalization, getting all digital, automation, but we also forget that as a human being, to create new things, we need to be together. We need to speak to each other. We need to brainstorm, to have ideas, and this can happen when you are face to face and when you talk to each other. So that's platform. Level 3 is what we're trying to provide to corporates and to startups to work together. An example of a project that we have had is a hackathon. Foundry hasn't run the hackathon by itself, but with the community, we have participated to this hackathon and together helped to identify potential startups or solutions to work on smallholder farmers project. So this is definitely something that we see more and more going. We're based in Singapore. We're looking for startups from everywhere around the world. And we are looking at any problem within Unilever and also outside of Unilever can help us. But we are talking about the transformation agenda as well. And if I show you this picture, and if I'm asking you, who do you think out of these 2 persons is going to win the battle? You're going to tell me the big guy. Now, if I'm telling you that this is not a fight, but this is a race, who do you think is going to win? the small guy. The idea is that startups are not here to solve all the problem. You need, as a corporate, to have clarity when you want to engage with startups in your transformation agenda, and when you cannot engage with startups in your transformation agenda. There is nothing wrong understanding where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses and when you should engage. And you need those platforms. You need a platform like the co-working space, which is an ecosystem space, or the Foundry, to communicate it, to identify those needs. So that's why I do like to use that picture. Today we are doing it through the Foundry. We're talking to the business and we are identifying the areas where we want to work with startups. The logistic team has done it. There is 6 pillars and then transformation agenda, and there is 3 that could be potentially tackled by startups. And that's very, very important. So I would like to leave you with some takeaways, and I can answer questions after if you want to. But basically, when a corporate wants to engage with startups, you need to create the platform for that. It needs to be a win-win platform, winning for the corporate, winning for the startup as well. No matter if you choose the funnel model or if you choose the cohort model, you need to have clarity on your corporate agenda, what's the goal that you need to achieve, and then create that space for startups to engage with you. The second thing is, once you have cracked your own model, which is engaging with the startups from your own corporate, you need to think about the ecosystem around you. Who are your partners and how can you engage with them to actually either co-create or develop new solutions? So it's beyond bilateral relationship. And I think that's still new. We haven't cracked it, we're still working on it, but I think it's something that we need to think about it. And finally, in a big and large organization, you need to have clarity on the problem you want to solve. That's the first thing, and that will make the win-win engagement successful. But you also need to have clarity on when to engage with startups. There is nothing wrong to say, I'm sorry, but this specific subject will not be tackled by a startup, but by my internal innovation team. You need to recognize where are your strengths and weakness and get them to work together. So in the context of the transformation agenda, you have to remember that. A final word, if I can summarize what we do between Unilever Foundry and between the co-working space that we have done. I think what we can say is Unilever Foundry is the formal way for startups to engage with our organization. It's difficult when you're a startup to know which door to knock, who to talk to, is it the right time or not? While the ecosystem, the level 3 space that we have built is the organic way for people to engage and to innovate. Thank you.